Yeah, I think I was just getting ready to start. Do you think most people are here?
I think so.
Should we wait a little longer?
I would say it's almost 10 after, so I would go ahead and then I would just go quietly.
Yeah. Good, so I hope you can hear me. I'm going to try to do this without the mic. I've got notes and no podium, so anyway. I'm so glad that you all came. I'm glad that you stuck around till the last session, and just glad to see all the people that are concerned about food issues here in Indianapolis. My name is Sally John, and if you want to go back to the first slide, I'm here to talk to you about what we decided to do at my church to kind of help with the food desert problem around our church. Our program is called Fresh Stop, and my vision came to me, the vision for this program came to me about 7 years ago. I was noticing, first of all, my delight at being able to stop at a farmer's market just right on the way to my house, you know, whenever I wanted, and pick up fresh produce, and my growing awareness that my church, which is located at 34th and Central, was in an area that was a food desert. People had a hard time getting access to fresh produce, and they didn't even have the resources if the food was there. And at the same time, I was hearing about what my son was doing in Washington, D.C. And he was working for a nonprofit called the Quixote Center, and they had started this program called Fresh Stop, and I just thought, wouldn't it be so great if I could do something like this through my church and just do something that would help a little bit with this problem. And so it's a creative concept. It's kind of similar to a CSA, except you don't have to commit for the whole season. The shares are put together by us, so you don't say, okay, I'm going to buy all of your produce and then just wait and see what the farmer gives you. And then the most awesome part is that people pay on a sliding scale according to their income. So that way we make fresh produce available for everybody. Next slide. So here's how it works. Twice a month we order our produce from a combination of 5 different farmers that we work with. Each Fresh Stop has a deadline for ordering, which is the Sunday before the event, which happens on Saturday morning. And you can place your order online or in person at church, or I have people hand me checks, hand me money, tell me that they want to order for maybe like the October 20th Fresh Stop, something like that. If you're above a certain income level, which is 200% of poverty, then you pay $25 for your share. If you're below that level, you pay $12 for your share, and if you have a SNAP card, you only pay $6. So after the deadline, we look at how much we have and how many people have ordered shares, and we place our order, and then on Saturday morning, you come between 10 and 11. Everybody comes, picks up their shares. Everyone gets the same thing. It's like a big, fun kind of community event. We have a chef during that hour that shows you ideas of what you can do with the produce, gives you samples. We've got coffee. We always have a drawing at the end at 11 o'clock. We give away something like a knife set or a cutting board or spiralizer, something like that. And that kind of keeps everybody around for the whole thing and keeps people in the kitchen, paying attention to what the chef's doing. And then we also give everybody a newsletter with their Fresh Stop share that gives them ideas of what they can do with the share, recipes, information on the farmers, that kind of thing. So here's what one of our clients had to say about Fresh Stop. They said, I just love knowing the origin of things. Where did it come from? Where did you come from? And where did my food come from? I am concerned about the amount of energy that it takes to ship food across the country that is picked before it is ripe to wait on the shelves so that I might take it home. That food might then sit in my refrigerator until I'm inspired to prepare it, and it's far from fresh by that time. But with Fresh Stop, the meat and the produce are local. The beef is grass-fed, which means that the cattle are eating the way God intended them to eat. There is a difference in the way it tastes. Eating seasonally is also important to me. Squash is for the early fall, tomatoes are ripe in late summer, kale spans the growing season. God has given us these rhythms, and it's nice to abide by them. I enjoy getting such a variety of food. It inspires my creativity and causes me to branch out and experiment a bit. Roasted kale chips are awesome. Eggplant is a nice addition to a stew made with grass-fed beef. Fresh tomatoes have a taste that can't be beat, and beets are delightful when they are roasted and added to salads and vegetables. If I were just trying to improve the eating of my own family, that would be good. There is, however, more. I pay the full amount for a share, and I know that what I pay allows someone else to pay less and enjoy the same good food. So one of my greatest thrills as founder and coordinator of Fresh Stop is that I get to hear stories like this all the time. As I said, it all began with a longing in my heart about 7 years ago. My son Jeremy had become aware of a Fresh Stop that was happening in Louisville, and he got in touch with their founder. It turns out they had modeled their program after Fresh Stops happening in Cleveland. Jeremy was working for a nonprofit at the time called the Quixote Center, and it became his mission through his job to start Fresh Stops in DC. As I watched him develop Fresh Stops through 2 churches there, I got excited about starting one at my own church. You may be familiar with my church. Go ahead. Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. It's located at 34th and Central. And back in the 1960s, TAB, as we call it, considered relocating to the suburbs. Many members at that point had been moving out to the suburbs, and they were coming into church, and the church thought maybe we should relocate. And they actually found a place and looked at some property and thought about moving. But in the end, they decided that they should just stay right where they were and just concentrate on how can we be involved in our neighborhood right here. And as problems develop, what can we do to help those? So, next slide. Out of that desire came our recreation program. Some of you may have heard about it. It's been a fixture at 34th and Central for a long time, and it's been a healthy part of countless children's lives in the city of Indianapolis. As we looked around, we saw other things that needed to be addressed. TAB has been involved at various levels in starting the Raphael Center, the Oaks Academy, the Neighborhood Christian Legal Clinic, Fall Creek Gardens, Free Wheelin' Bikes, a soup kitchen, a food pantry, a tutoring program. We've helped build houses in the neighborhood through Habitat for Humanity, and Fresh Stop is just one more way that we can serve our neighbors. I began the Fresh Stop in 2013, which meant that we were already up and running when the Double Eights closed in 2015. One of those stores had been located just less than a block from TAB, leaving our neighbors with no easy place to get their groceries. When I talked with my son about how to start a Fresh Stop at TAB, he told me that I needed to have at least 10 volunteers. So we began with a class at church. We read books, we looked at YouTube videos, we had great discussions that eventually led us to the decision to try to start our own Fresh Stop. So, to better understand how a Fresh Stop works, let's look at the various jobs that need to be filled by those 10 or so volunteers. Probably if we added it up, it would be more than 10, but. So the first thing is you need a coordinator, which is what I do. I basically gather the shares, put the list together, kind of generally coordinate everything, send out the emails, that kind of thing. You need a farmer liaison. The farmer liaison contacts the farmers, communicates with them, and helps us put together our shares for the Fresh Stop, orders the produce for us each time. We have a graphic designer who creates a new brochure for us each year, along with flyers that we can leave on car windshields and around the neighborhood, and then the newsletter that we hand out at each Fresh Stop. We need people who will do our produce pickup. So these people gather the boxes of produce on Saturday morning and bring them to TAB. All of our farmers are located at the Broderville Farmers Market, so we just go there and they put aside boxes for us. We need a meat seller, and I'll tell you more about that later, but the meat seller picks up the frozen meat from where we store it and returns it after the Fresh Stop, selling it throughout the morning, again at 2 different price points based on income. The sign maker creates signs that we tape to our tables telling people what the produce is and how much they need to take of each. And then we have a setup crew. They weigh and bag up the produce, set it out on trays in the dining room. Just have it all ready so people can go around and get their shares, gather their shares. We have a greeter who checks each person off and helps them start their journey around the tables collecting their produce. We have a greeter helper. That person has special knowledge about that morning's produce so that they can answer questions, and then they give courtesy phone calls as we near the end of the morning, and there are always a few people that forgot to come. And then we have the chef. This is a paid position. We've gotten donations to help us pay for our chefs, but we have a professional person in the kitchen demonstrating what we can do with our fresh produce. The cleanup crew puts everything back to order at the end of the day. And then we have people, the box returners. They take back the tubs and the boxes to the farmers at Broad Ripple before they're ready to leave. And then the past few years, we got the idea of having subs. So we've got about 4 people who people can call on. If they can't do their jobs, then those people can fill in for them. So I've gotten people to commit to jobs throughout the entire season. The social media person maintains our online presence. And then outreach is a very important part of what we do, and kind of all of us on the volunteer committee are always handing out brochures, looking for opportunities like this to talk about Fresh Stop and just to get the word out so that more people can benefit. Before I leave this slide, I don't know if you noticed how happy we all are. It is so much fun to get that huge bag of produce, and you can see just about how much you get for your $25, $12, or $6. So no matter what you pay, I think we all go away feeling like we've got a good deal. So now that you know the various jobs, I thought it might be interesting to follow a share chronologically. That'll give you a better understanding of the whole process. So let's say you decided you wanted to order a share. There's a number of ways that you could place your order. You can buy for the whole season, and if you do, you get a discount, but you can just order one Fresh Stop at a time, whatever is most convenient for you. You can come to church and turn in your money, or like I said, you can give me money. But the best way is, if you want to move ahead, is just to go to www.freshstop.org and /tab, and this is kind of what it looks like. And this is how you can order your share using your credit card. You'll see that the first choice you have is how big your family is. So this person had a family of 2. And then after you do that, you pull down the drop-down box, and then you choose your income level. So you see, if for a family of 2, if it's less than $35,000, you're going to be paying $12 for your share. If it's more than $35,000, then you're going to be paying $25. And then you just go on and go ahead and place your order for whichever Fresh Stop you want to order for. Usually I think people go on order for the upcoming Fresh Stop. I've got a lot of people who have ordered for the entire season, which is an awesome way to do it too. So at that point, you've ordered your share, but if you have a SNAP card, it's a little more tricky. You need to get in touch with me, because the only way at this point that we can take SNAP money is using my phone and putting it through that way. I've got a number of people who have given me their SNAP numbers and also their PINs, so that I can just key it in when they tell me to. They'll send me an email and say, go ahead and charge me $12 for the next 2 Fresh Stops. So that part is a little messy. I was really glad to hear this morning that our government is working on a way for SNAP payments to occur online, because that will really help us. Okay, so you paid, and also I'm kind of talking about the 3 different levels of payment. One of the challenges that we've had this whole time is keeping a good ratio, because if we have too many people paying $12, then we don't get a lot of produce. But if we have too many people paying $25, then it's just like a buying club for people who could just go to Whole Foods and get their produce anyway. So we don't want that. So I'm always kind of looking, I like to keep it at half and half, like half people paying 25 and half of the people paying 12. And by the way, the $6 shares, when I began that, it was part of the Fresh Bucks program. I'm sure you're familiar with that, and it's no longer run. But so I would get another $6 for each of those $6 shares from Fresh Bucks. So I was always getting at least $12 for all of those lower income shares. At this point, I just raised a little bit of money. I found a donor, so I'm continuing with those $6 shares, and I just apply that money from that little pool, that little pot that I have. So anyway, so back to our share ordering. At midnight, the Sunday before the Fresh Stop, our website automatically sends me a list of orders. I get phone numbers, emails, etc. So Monday morning, I wake up, add that to my spreadsheet, because I've already got a spreadsheet of people who have turned money into church or handed me money. And I always add in 2 extra shares, just in case I made a mistake, or, well, it's just kind of a challenge too. Sometimes people are just hanging out at church coming for the rec program. They want to know about Fresh Stop, and I can just sell them a share right there on the spot. But tell them, usually you have to order ahead of time. So we've always got a couple of extra shares to sell. And then I always order a share for the chef, and that's kind of incorporated into the whole pot too, so that he has something. It's usually him, not always, but they have something to work with. So if you can move ahead. The next thing I do is text Chad, and this is Chad. He's worked with me the whole time. He's our farmer liaison, and he found the farmers, which was also kind of a big challenge to get us going. We needed to find farmers who would give us a lower price by buying in bulk, who would be willing. We really wanted farmers who would drop off the produce on Saturday morning, but we haven't been able to work that out very much. I know like in Louisville, I think they have worked that kind of thing out, and I would suggest if you're going to do this, instead of doing what we do, you just ask the farmers, could you drop off your produce on Saturday morning or whenever you have it. By Wednesday afternoon, Chad has looked at the amount of money that I've sent him, so I'm like, we've got $550 and we have 40 shares, something like that. So he's working with all that, talking with the farmers, getting the shares, getting our share and our order all put together. And if you can go on, the next thing that happens is our graphic designer, and this is Heath, puts together our newsletter for that time. So there he is working on our Fresh Stop newsletter. And on the newsletter, he's going to list out what we have in the share that time, information. A lot of times it's information about the produce, like, how are you going to store the kale, or what's the best way to keep your lettuce from going bad, that kind of stuff. So he works on our newsletters. Go ahead. And this is an example. This is the first page. It's usually like a 2 or actually a 3-page kind of deal. So you can see that week we had tomatoes, bell peppers, onions, green beans, sweet corn, jalapeno peppers, Roma tomatoes, rainbow carrots, bell peppers, and yellow summer squash. We always try to get a good variety. So you're not going to get like a huge amount of anything. We go more for variety than quantity. And then if you open up your newsletter, it gives you recipes and that kind of thing too. We also have in the newsletter information about the grass-fed beef, which I'll get to. And so Saturday mornings come. Go ahead, and this is Michael. He's taking the church van, and he's going to go pick up all the boxes of tomatoes and carrots and lettuce and all that kind of stuff, load it up, bring it to church. And he's usually at church about 9 o'clock with our produce. So in the meantime, you want to go ahead and move forward. You can see they're looking at the meat from the coolers. So a few of us have gone down to Indy's Kitchen, which is where we keep our grass-fed beef. So we have ordered grass-fed beef ahead of time. We order it in bulk from This Old Farm in Colfax, Indiana, and they deliver it to Indy's Kitchen for me. Indy's Kitchen has graciously allowed me to keep their meat in their freezer for free, and it's located just like, a mile from Tab. So we go down and we pick up the meat. We found that we tried to store the meat at church, but we were going to need to get some special kind of licensing through the Board of Health since we were selling something, and we just really didn't have a good place to keep it. So you can go ahead and move forward. So continuing to talk about the grass-fed beef, you may know that grass-fed beef is not cheap. So that's another place where I have solicited donations so that we can subsidize our grass-fed beef, because we want to make it so it's actually affordable, especially for the lower income people that are buying the lower amount of shares. So I've got the price down so that if you're paying $25 for your share, you get a pound of grass-fed hamburger for $6. If you're paying $12 or $6 for your share, then you get your pound for $3. And all of the meat is vacuum sealed and frozen. So like they told me it would keep indefinitely in the freezer because of being vacuum sealed and frozen. So that's pretty awesome. And so far everybody's really loved the meat. We've also had stew bones, like bones that you can use in soup bones. And we sell that for, it's $1.50 a pound or $3 a pound based on your income. Okay, next slide. So back to the fresh stuff. It's 9 o'clock and we've got till 10 o'clock and that's when people come. So during this time, several of us are quite busy. You can see we're laying out the produce. We're bagging some of the things. We have to weigh, you know, sometimes we will get big boxes of green beans and we know that everyone gets a pound and a half. So we're weighing it. You can see we're putting things in bags, putting it out on our tables for the people that are coming at 10. And next one, so the sign maker puts up signs letting people know what each produce item is and how much to take. So you're probably just looking at my cute grandson who's dressed up like Elmo, but you can see right to the left is one of our signs. So radishes, take one bunch. So we get all the signs out and you can see the cooler of meat at the beginning and then people just make their way around the table with their own bags when they come. We always have to encourage, like, please take the beets. I know that you might not think you're going to use the beets, but we want everybody just to take everything and try everything. So that's kind of part of what we're doing too, because some people will say, oh, I don't want the beets, I'll just leave them for somebody else. But try to encourage everybody to take everything. So next slide. So at 10 o'clock, this is Yolanda on the right. She checks everybody off and welcomes them. And like I said, it's just kind of like a fun party. You know, so many people have been coming for years to get their Fresh Stop shares. We've got coffee. People sit around and talk and they go in the kitchen, see what the chef is doing, come out with, you know, like fresh roasted vegetables to eat, that kind of thing. I always try not to have a job on Saturday morning because I'm busy. I take credit card payments for the meat. There's people with their SNAP cards that want me to take their payments, that sort of thing. So the next slide, you can see us in the kitchen, gathered around. And like I said, our chef is paid from a special, another pot of money that I have, special donation that I got for him or for her. And these people are getting more ideas. He's showing us ways that we can use our share. It's just kind of a lot of fun hanging out in the kitchen. And I've got a 2.5-minute video now. You can see James creating a delicious roasted veggie salad from Produce on the Share that morning. So he said that it was embedded right there. We may not be able to hear the music very much, but you know what? The music doesn't really matter. You just can see him at work. Oh. Can you get it to go?
Let's see.